Welcome to The View From Here, where today we're talking about gap years. As far back as I can remember, I've dreamt of packing my bags and heading off somewhere unknown to start afresh and to just unwind for a while and immerse myself in the culture. Whether that be wandering around a big city, sitting back on a train and just watching the world go by, I just wanted to get out there and explore. My gap year is a bit different to a lot of people. First off, I didn't do it straight out of high school. When I did what I consider my first gap year, I was probably early 20s and I headed off to Japan. I got a job as an English teacher there, and the company I was working for helped sort out my apartment to live in. They had someone meet me at the airport. I had a home school that I would teach English at, and they had social events so we could get to know the other people that were teaching there as well. So it was kind of a soft landing, I think you would call it. So much was organised for us. We just kind of had to show up at work and teach the students. That one lasted for about 8 months. Even though I was working, I found that Tokyo was a very expensive place to live, and I kept calling mum and dad, help, send me some more money, and eventually they just kind of said, look, enough's enough. Either you got to start earning some more money, or maybe think about some other options, or maybe it might be time to come home. So that was my first gap year experience. My second one, once again, did not go for a year. This one, in fact, went for 6 years. We started out in the UK. It was my ex-partner and me, and we got our own jobs there. We got our own apartment, and along the way, just doing things like joining sporting activities after work. Sporting activities after work and going out with work colleagues and, maybe checking out the theatre or a comedy show or things like that. And slowly we just made some friends. We started out in a hostel type of situation, so quite basic accommodation, but as we went along and we met people, they recommended other places we could live and stuff like that. In the end, we ended up staying for 6 years. We were lucky enough one of us got our visas sponsored and we were able to stay for 6 years. So when you're talking about what a gap year is, in my opinion, it can be many things. And as I said, it does not have to last only for a year. And you don't have to be a certain age, which takes me to my next point. And are you too old for a gap year? So as you can see, a few wrinkles, probably a few more than what I would like to admit at this point, but you can see them. So there you go. I even believe at my age and beyond, definitely you can just get out there, explore, whether it's your own backyard, a bit further, overseas. You can really just make it what you want to make it. And I don't think you're ever too old. In fact, we do have something in Australia, I'm not sure about other countries, but we call them the grey nomads. And I know it's a very active community of retirees, sell up the house, buy a nice big caravan, buy a nice big car to tow that caravan and do the trip around Australia. So quite often these sorts of people, as I said, they're retired. If they do have a family, they're probably grown up by that point. No time limit. I would still call that a gap year of sorts. So a gap year, in whatever form it is going to take for you, you might be wondering, is it worth it? Is it worth something like maybe we have to give up a job or give up where you're living, sell a house, things like that? You might wonder, is it going to be worth it in the end? My opinion is that it is always going to be worth it. Even if things don't quite work out the way that you thought they would, even if you need to take a bit of a side detour along the way somewhere, cut it short. You never know, you might even make it longer. I think it's always worth it. The experiences that you get, the different cultures that you experience, the people you will meet, I don't think you will ever regret it. Next, I wanted to talk about where do you start in the planning, especially if you haven't travelled much. This could be quite daunting, and I think it's probably best to start with a few questions. Ask yourself things like, when are you going to do this? You know, it could be something that is in your near future, or as I mentioned with the grey nomads, it could be something that's in your, far away future. Once it's time to retire, sell off the house, things like that. But even so, you can start now and just do little steps and work towards that goal. So that's a really important first step, I think, is decide when. Also, where do you want to go? Is this something that is in your own country? Perhaps interstate? Perhaps, like I said, once again with the grey nomads, doing a big tour around the country you live in. If so, it makes a lot of things like language quite easy and nothing further is really needed there. But, if, for example, you wanted to go around Europe, obviously lots of different languages there. When I went to Japan as well, a different language is spoken there. So you might want to do something like learn some basic conversational skills in the language of where you're going to visit. I did that for Japan, even though I know when I got there, they wanted me to explain everything in English. The students already had, a basic grasp of English anyway, but it was still handy. It was handy to know a few words just to kind of throw in there every now and again. And yeah, I think they're the main things to start with. And then things kind of snowball from there, I think you'll find. So once you know where you're going, you can start looking at things like time of year. That's a good time to visit. If you are going to be staying for 6 months or longer, this might not be as big a consideration because you will get all 4 seasons. So yeah, just things like that. Start looking at maybe different places where you might live. Once again, if you are staying longer, you'll need some accommodation. But for shorter gap years, you even might look at things like Airbnb and things like that, or house swaps. There's lots of different options out there. So yeah, what I like to do when I'm planning is, whether or not it's a mental list or something I write down, I just kind of start making a few points. And then when I have some time, I just start looking and researching. So checking out things like YouTube, different websites, people that have done it before. You might even find that you come across people in your everyday life that have done what you want to do, or know people that have done what you want to do. So just start asking questions, things like that. So whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best, and thank you for watching today's video.